I've got the woe begone, down low Mifwump Blues. But grandfather's garden is the cure for the Mifwump Blues.
Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode from Grandfather's Garden by David Loye. I'm Brie Mathers, and today I'm going to be reading Babbage the Cabbage. Once upon a time, there was a cabbage named Babbage, and all that Babbage wanted out of life was to play mumbly peg. His friends the carrots would come by and say, "Babbage, let's go play soccer." And Babbage would mumble, "Just want to play mumbly peg." And his friends the onions would come by and they would say, "Babbage, let's go play kick the can." And Babbage would mumble, "Just want to play mumbly peg." And his friends the cauliflowers would come by and they would say, "Babbage, let's go swimming down at the old swimming hole." And Babbage would mumble, "Just want to play mumbly peg." One day, a new creature appeared in the garden patch. She was brilliant. All the vegetables were a-twitter, wondering who she could be and where she came from, and who among all the single male vegetables she might decide was Mr. Right. The corn said, "Well, of course she will pick me because I'm the tallest and my leaves rustle with such majesty when the wind blows through the cornfield." And the pumpkin said, "Well, of course she will pick me because I am the most beautifully round and orange thing and I have such a lovely long vine." And the watermelon said, "Well, of course she will pick me because I also have a long vine, but I am beautifully green on the outside and am absolutely gorgeous red on the inside." The garlic said, "Well, I sort of think that maybe she might pick me." But they all laughed because they knew there was no chance for the garlic. And so it went on in this way, with the beets putting in their case and the potatoes putting in their case and the celery making a big thing about how it had the best crunch of all. "There's nothing in this here garden patch that crunches like a good stalk of celery," it said. And the eggplant, of course, who was extremely proud of himself because of his shiny purple skin, said, "Of course she will select me." Bashful Babbage. But Babbage just sat there and said nothing because, well, he did say something. He mumbled, "Just want to play mumbly peg." So what do you know? This brilliant creature started through the garden patch and she paused before the eggplant and then walked on. And she paused before the pumpkin and thumped on and then walked on. And she thumped the watermelon and walked on. And when she came to the corn, she got a big sneezing fit because of all the pollen from the corn tassels. So it was obvious she would never pick him because of a basic incompatibility there. And so she went from vegetable to vegetable. She did pause for a bit before the celery, and while he made his case that he was the crunchiest, she made a very powerful point that was talked about for days thereafter. She said, "What good would it be if we were to link up and your great attraction was your crunchiness? That would mean I would have to bite you, and that is not nice." And the celery shook his head sadly and said, "I never thought it through properly." So she finally came to Babbage the Cabbage and she said, "Well, what's your name?" And he said, "Babbage." And she said, "Babbage the Cabbage, how quaint and delightful." She said, "And what do you want from life?" And he said, "Just want to play mumbly peg." She said, "Well, what's mumbly peg?" This stopped him cold because he realized that he didn't know what mumbly peg was. It was just something he had heard, and because he mumbled when he talked, he thought it sounded kind of good, mumbly peg. Cabbage and Cabbage Incorporated. She said, "You are certainly shy and not very forthcoming, but I detect in you something beautiful underneath your unprepossessing exterior." Of course, this made Babbage feel immensely good. He was very impressed with these big words, unprepossessing and exterior. with his mind expanding to grasp these big words, and under the glow of her attention and the idea that anyone on earth could possibly find anything beautiful hidden within him, for the first time in his life, he felt impelled to respond in some at least halfway memorable way. And so there came out of him the kind of question that would just be routine for any other halfway developed creature, but it represented an enormous step forward in social grace for Babbage the Cabbage. He said, "What is your name?" Reciprocity it was. Reciprocity was growing within Babbage the Cabbage. There was working up within him, out of being gloomily absorbed with himself, the recognition of another creature. He was moving into a self-transcendent growth stage. He was going beyond ego-boundedness. He said, "What's your name?" And she said, "I am the Cabbage Patch Doll." And so at that moment, something clicked within both of them. Babbage the Cabbage, Cabbage Patch Doll. It was obvious that although they looked so very, very different, there was a magical, mystical link between the two because of that single word, cabbage. The Mumbly Peg quest. And it was then that the Cabbage Patch Doll had a sudden inspiration. She said, "I don't know where this knowledge comes from, but I intuit that you have the potential to be a great mathematician." And would you believe it? This proved to be true, for Babbage did indeed, because of her influence upon him, because she believed in him, because she ultimately loved him, because she evoked the best, the most unique, the most creative surge within him. He became the great mathematician, Babbage, whose discoveries led over the years to the invention of the modern computer. He also entertained the greatest scientist of them all, Charles Darwin, at one of his famous parties. If you don't believe it, you can see it for yourself today in Wikipedia or any history book. And they set out together arm in arm, humming a little tune and skipping with joy once in a while, to comb the world looking for the answer to the most persistent and questionable question of our time. What is Mumbly Peg? A moral for the story? We all need somebody to see what nobody else sees and believes in us. Or wonderful things can happen to people if you believe in them. Thanks for being with us together. And remember, if you want your own copy of Grandfather's Garden, you can hop on over to Amazon and find it there. Okay, see you next week.
I've got the woe begone, down low Mifwump Blues. But Grandfather's Garden is the cure for the Mifwump Blues.